I chased after Robert for 10 years. Everyone laughed that I was a doormat, loving him pathetically. I turned a deaf ear, delivering a limited edition album to his girl in a heavy rainstorm, making late-night snacks for them after they were done at 2 in the morning, watching him kiss the girl passionately at Disneyland with my own eyes, until he tore up the diary where I'd confessed my love for him for 20 years, along with all the photos of him. He pieced them together into a love letter and gave it to his girl, and sneered, "Your sincerity is only fit to be her amusement." I turned and left. This was the 99th thing I had done for him. It was enough to repay him for saving me that year. I booked a flight out of the country for 10 days later. At the same time, I called that person and accepted his proposal. Looking at the diary and photos he had torn up on the ground, I trembled all over. It felt like a large hole had been torn in my heart, and even breathing became difficult. "Robert, throw this metal box away quickly. It looks dirty, don't catch any germs from it." Chloe, wrapped around Robert, looked at the thing I had cherished for 20 years with disdain. Robert frowned at her words and, without hesitation, moved to throw the box into the nearby trash can. "No!" I rushed forward, but Robert was a step ahead. The crisp sound of the box hitting the inside of the trash can echoed in my heart. Panicked, I knelt on the ground and, ignoring the messy garbage inside, rummaged for the metal box. This was the only thing the orphanage director had left me. I clutched it to my chest. Looking up, I saw Robert wiping his hands with a tissue, a look of utter disgust on his face. My heart ached. "Robert, something I've touched makes you that disgusted?" I questioned him painfully. Robert was a germaphobe. Anything I gave him, he would disinfect before accepting. Robert scoffed, looking at me as if I were a clown. "Sarah, you why?" Our self-disgust me greatly. "In that case, Robert, from now on, I won't bother you again." I had already done 99 things for him. It was enough to repay him for saving me that year. Robert didn't care. He crossed his arms, looking down at me condescendingly. "Sarah, I bet you'll come crawling back tomorrow morning to make me breakfast and apologize." Robert was confident, completely disbelieving that I would leave him. I said nothing, smiled sadly, then straightened my back and walked away from him without a second thought, putting distance between us, little by little. What Robert didn't know was that this time, I was truly leaving him. Looking at my retreating back, a sudden feeling of irritation arose in Robert's heart, as if he was about to lose something important. Before he could figure it out, Chloe interrupted his thoughts. "Robert, Sarah was so scary just now. Do you think she's mentally ill?" Hearing Chloe's words, a trace of displeasure rose in Robert's heart. He frowned but still comforted Chloe. His thoughts, however, drifted elsewhere. Thinking of Sarah's expression just now, was Sarah really going to leave him? Then Robert dismissed the ridiculous idea. Sarah liked him so much, followed him for so many years, and no matter how he treated her, she wouldn't let go. How could she bear to leave him? Tomorrow, Sarah would come over on her own and soften her stance. After leaving the office, I went to a bar and ordered 2 drinks. Celebrating finally letting go of Robert, pulling myself out of the mud. From now on, I would let go of Robert bit by bit. I opened the Stanford University job offer from before and clicked accept. That year, to be by Robert's side, I had voluntarily given up that position. Unexpectedly, the deep affection I had shown for so many years by his side had become a joke. Everyone in Robert's circle laughed that I was a doormat, loving him pathetically. I returned to the family estate and greeted Robert's parents. I handed the printed divorce papers to Robert's mother. That year, Robert's father forced him to marry me. He was unwilling and utterlime. Sometimes, when he was in a bad mood, he wooed for various reasons. He never admitted outside that I was his wife. I could only stay by his side in the capacity of a secretary. "Did that brat upset you again today?" Today he brought that woman here, saying he wanted to marry her, which made me so angry I kicked him out. "Did Robert give you trouble after he went back?" "Sarah, don't worry, as long as we are alive, we will always protect you." Robert's parents genuinely loved me, but after being by Robert's side for so many years, I was already worn out. I shook my head, refusing the elderly couple's kindness. Robert's mother, seeing my firm attitude, no longer insisted, holding my hand reluctantly. Sarah, in the end, Robert failed you. That foolish boy doesn't see how good you are, he'll regret it sooner or later. My eyes welled up, and I smiled bitterly. It's just that we weren't meant to be. Now I had voluntarily given up Robert and returned him to Chloe. After leaving the Robert estate, I booked a flight out of the country for 10 days later. Then I submitted my resignation. I no longer centered my life around Robert. I no longer answered his calls immediately as I used to. Every day, I just took care of myself and prepared the documents for going abroad. I was also trying hard to avoid him, having not appeared before Robert for 2 consecutive days. Unexpectedly, I ran into him in the break room. Why didn't you bring me breakfast, Sarah? Do you know I waited for you and was hungry all morning? Looking at him saying this so self-righteously, I couldn't help but laugh in anger. Mr. Robert, I told you that day I wouldn't bother you again. You didn't forget, did you? Robert was silent for a few seconds, then took a few steps closer, almost pressing against me. I admit I was a bit out of line that day. Robert had never actively softened his stance towards me before. There was an obvious awkwardness on his face. Sarah, I've already come to you. What more do you want? Smelling Chloe's perfume lingering on his clothes, I felt almost nauseous. Frowning, I stepped back a few steps to put distance between us. Robert's eyebrows twitched fiercely, watching my reaction. When had Sarah ever reacted like this to him? Before, Sarah would seize any opportunity to try and get closer to him. A sudden surge of inexplicable anger rose in his heart, and his face turned gloomy. I looked at him steadily. Didn't your mother tell you? I've signed the divorce papers, and I've communicated with your parents. Robert, I won't stay by your side anymore and be your stumbling block. You are free now. You can marry the girl you love. I saw Robert's eyes widen abruptly, then he sneered. Sarah, what game are you playing now? Playing hard to get? What makes you think I'd fall for that? A bit of annoyance rose in my heart. I didn't want to argue with him anymore. Whether it's true or not, Robert, you'll know if you make a call. I said, and without waiting for his reply, turned to leave. But Robert grabbed my wrist tightly. His grip was strong, almost crushing my bones. I heard his voice, slightly gritted through his teeth. Sarah, you were the one who clung to me in the first place, and you were the one who chased after me, unwilling to give up. Without my permission, you have no right to say you're leaving. Robert, before, I was pathetic. I was stupid enough to insist on staying by your side. Now I know my place. I'm not good enough for you. Don't worry, from now on, I won't bother you anymore. I wish you and Chloe the best. Robert seemed not to have expected me to really give up on him and paused before speaking. I heard a hint of unwillingness mixed in his tone. Sarah, who told you to do this on your own initiative? Weren't you always hoping for this? I was a little confused. Before, Robert was willing to be beaten out of the house by his father rather than give up marrying Chloe. Now that I had initiated the divorce and signed the papers, Robert was suddenly against it. Robert looked at my indifferent expression. The inexplicable anger in his heart burned even fiercer. This shouldn't be happening. Sarah signing the divorce papers, he should have been happy. But there was a voice in his heart that didn't want to let Sarah leave just like that. Also, from now on, I will not be responsible for your daily needs. Robert had a stomach issue, and he was very picky about food. Most things couldn't pass his palate. I used to make time every day, sometimes even sacrificing eating and sleeping, to research recipes for him, simmering various nutritious meals tailored to his condition. Robert found me annoying, but he always ate the food I made completely. Since Chloe appeared by his side, I had to not only accommodate his tastes, I also had to spare effort to cater to Chloe's preferences. Because of Robert's unconditional favoritism, when Robert wasn't looking, she dropped her usual innocent facade, ordering me around and mocking me mercilessly. Robert stared at me intently, then sneered. I've long wanted you to leave, but Sarah, Don't you regret it? I came back to my senses, watching Robert kick the nearby trash can aside after saying that. Then he stormed away in anger. I shook my head, not taking his words to heart. In the afternoon, I took my resignation letter to have Robert sign it. But I didn't expect to run into Chloe. Sarah, what right do you have to compete with me? I advise you to divorce Robert on your own. Robert's mind is completely focused on me now. Don't make a fool of yourself and stay here making people sick. Robert's office was empty except for Chloe. She had dropped her usual facade, looking down on me and sneering. Sarah, if you keep bothering Robert, I'll find someone to strip you and throw you outside Sterling Corporation. I held up my phone. I recorded everything you just said. I sneered. If Robert sees you like this, will he dump you immediately? Chloe's face changed, and she moved to grab my phone. Suddenly, her expression shifted. She slapped herself hard. Before I could react, Robert pushed me away. I crashed violently into a nearby antique vase, a meter tall. The vase fell and shattered, and I landed on the pieces. Warm blood immediately flowed out. My phone was also flung away, its screen instantly shattered. Sarah, I really like Robert. Please don't make me leave. Chloe knelt on the ground, crying and pleading nonstop. Robert's face darkened instantly when he saw the slap mark on Chloe's face. He looked at me, his eyes as cold as ice. Robert grabbed my chin, seemingly oblivious to the cut on my forehead. He slapped me hard twice. Sarah, who gave you the guts to lay a hand on Chloe? If anything happens to Chloe, Sarah, I'll take your life. Blood blurred my vision, and I couldn't clearly see Robert's expression before me. I defended myself. I didn't hit her, she staged it. Sarah, I know you hate me, but you can't falsely accuse me. Chloe put on her innocent act again, covering her face. Robert, I hit myself. Don't be angry with Sarah. Chloe's words only added fuel to the fire. Robert's face was terrifyingly gloomy. He pressed my hand firmly down onto the vase fragments beneath me. Apologize to Chloe. A bone-chilling pain came from my palm, but I stubbornly refused. I wanted to show the evidence, but my phone had just been broken. Robert narrowed his eyes and sneered. I remembered the cemetery you arranged for the orphanage director is on Sterling Corporation land. A cold sweat broke out on my body, and my voice trembled uncontrollably. Robert, what are you going to do? If you don't want the orphanage director's ashes to be dug up, I promise I'll apologize. My voice was hoarse, and I quickly interrupted Robert. I stared at him, my eyes red. I had underestimated Robert's heartlessness towards me. He hated me, I should have known that, but I still held on to a glimmer of hope. Facing Chloe, I lowered my head. My fingernails dug into my palms, drawing blood little by little. I kept apologizing mechanically. Robert was still not satisfied. He made me kneel on the ground and ensured Chloe was thoroughly appeased before he was content. I watched him pick up Chloe and take her to the hospital. I was dizzy and, holding the wound on my head, stumbled away alone. At the hospital, after my wound was treated, I saw Robert not far away, his face full of heartache, holding Chloe in his arms and comforting her softly. He held an ice pack in his hand, carefully wrapped in a silk scarf so as not to hurt Chloe. He gently applied it to Chloe's face. My heart stung, a layer of mist quietly rose in my eyes, and then I turned my head to leave. But Chloe called out to me from behind. Sarah, are you leaving the hospital too? Why don't we go together? Robert looked at the wound on my head, and a hint of complexity flashed across his face. Before he could say anything, Chloe tugged at his sleeve. Robert, does the cut on my face look really ugly? Watching Robert's attention instantly get drawn back to Chloe, I prepared to leave. Just then, someone shouted that there was a fire. Thick smoke drifted over, and everyone rushed towards the emergency exit 3 meters away. I was swept along by the crowd, seeing the exit just ahead. Suddenly, someone grabbed the back of my neck, and before I could react, I was thrown backward. I looked up and saw it was Robert. He was rushing into the emergency exit with Chloe. He thought I was in their way. I stared at him blankly, the searing heat behind me already scorching my back. In the chaos, Robert turned his head, realizing what had happened. Where Sarah had been standing, there was now a sea of fire. His hand, hanging at his side, trembled involuntarily. A huge panic suddenly rose in his heart. I appeared at the airport. My phone had been repaired. I sent Robert the video I had recorded that day of Chloe's true face and her threats to me. Then I deleted all his contact information. I took out my SIM card and threw it into a nearby trash can. Putting on my sunglasses, I boarded the plane. In a daze, I had a dream. I dreamed of when I was little. I was thrown into the orphanage from birth, timid and weak. Being bullied was normal. I was used to it. Until one day, Robert came to the orphanage with his mother. He saw me being bullied, stood up for me, chased those kids away, and comforted me. I had never experienced being cared for before. That day, I hugged him and cried my heart out. Seeing me cry, Robert immediately became flustered. He clumsily took out a candy from his pocket, unwrapped it, and gently put it in my mouth. The fragrant candy instantly soothed my sadness. He imitated an adult, clumsily telling me stories and coaxing me. I stopped crying and laughed. But within a few minutes, someone came to call him, saying it was time to leave. I tugged at his clothes, unwilling to let him go. After he left, I would be bullied again. Robert patted my head, gave me 2 more candies, and said he would come back to see me. I reluctantly let go, my heart filled with anticipation for the next time, waiting every day. I couldn't bear to eat the 2 candies he gave me, but they were eventually snatched by older kids. But I waited and waited, and he never came back to see me. I waited for 10 years, until I grew up, but he never came to find me. The candy wrapper, I kept it in the metal box the director gave me. Inside were also pictures of Robert that I had cut out from various magazines. There was him, spirited and proud in his teens, and him, winning the latest technology award in his 20s. Robert at different ages, the stack of photos was half a meter high. But those photos and the diary were torn to shreds by Robert that day, just to please Chloe. Even the box was thrown into the trash can by him. These years, to get closer to him, I rose from the mud. Step by step, no matter how many thorns lay ahead, I didn't care. When I finally stood by his side, telling him these things, Robert didn't have any memory of it at all. He didn't remember the little girl at the orphanage who had been waiting for him all this time. He forgot that promise, and he forgot me. It turned out that all these years, I was the only one holding on to those memories, unable to escape. Robert's look of disdain when he looked at me made me feel like a pathetic clown. The thing I treasured most in my heart was worthless in his eyes. The disgust towards me in his eyes was undisguised. A chill ran through me, and I suddenly woke up. Robert was called back to the family estate by a phone call from his mother. "You bastard, look at what kind of woman you've found. And you still want to marry her." Robert's father threw a pile of photos at Robert's head. On them were pictures of Chloe with different men. Robert knelt down and picked them up, one by one. In the photos, Chloe was wearing revealing clothes, flatteringly kissing men who were clearly middle-aged and overweight. Each photo was of a different man, some were even black. Chloe's face was full of, completely different from the pure image she showed him every day. Robert's hand holding the photos trembled more and more. Just then, his phone rang. It was the message I had sent him. On the screen, Chloe's ugly face, high and mighty, was relentlessly humiliating Sarah. It was completely different from the fragile image she presented to him daily. "Look at what kind of woman this is that you've found. Sarah is a good child. You practically forced her away." Robert's faith. Standing nearby, naturally also saw the video. Robert frantically called Sarah, but found his number blocked. He tried calling from different numbers, only to find they were disconnected. Robert was panicking. He couldn't reach Sarah. Just then, Robert's mother, holding the divorce papers Sarah had signed, angrily threw them in front of him. Seeing the content and Sarah's handwriting clearly, his vision went black, and Robert almost collapsed. It turned out Sarah was telling the truth. She hadn't lied to him back then. She really didn't want anything to do with him anymore. And at the time, he had scoffed, asking if she was trying to get his attention with another trick. He was wrong. It turned out all of this was his fault. He questioned anxiously. "Dad, how could you just let Sarah leave?" Before he finished speaking, he was slapped. Robert's father hit him hard, making Robert's head snap to the side. "Not let Sarah leave? Are you going to keep her by your side and torture her to death? How did I raise such a useless son? Are you trying to anger me to death?" Seeing his father too angry to stand steady, Robert lowered his head and pursed his lips, saying nothing more. "You have no luck. Sarah liked you since she was a child. When you went hiking and fell into the valley, if she hadn't carried you out step by step, you would have lost your life long ago." Robert was struck as if by lightning. He said in disbelief, "What? Hiking? Didn't you say the mountain rescue team saved me?" Chloe had claimed to be the daughter of the person who saved him, which was why he was so tolerant and spoiled her. But now, his mother was saying that the person who saved him back then was Sarah. Robert felt his vision waver for a moment. "Our family has always supported Sarah. You could say your parents watched her grow up. She's a grateful child. Sarah didn't want you to know because she didn't want you to feel obligated by this and make things difficult. LT for you." Robert thought of all the good Sarah had done for him over the years, and how he had hurt her. In an instant, his head hurt terribly. Overwhelmed by anger and distress, he fainted. When he woke up again, a strange memory had been added to his mind. He vaguely remembered going to the orphanage with his mother when he was little, meeting a little girl who was being bullied. He stood up for her, chased those kids away, gave her candy, and told her stories. Before leaving, he promised her he would visit her often. But after he fell while hiking, he hit his head and forgot about these things. That little girl, it turned out, was Sarah when she was a child. Thinking of this, Robert's heart suddenly ached. His face was pale, he bent over, breathing heavily to relieve the pain. It turned out he had already started to like Sarah back then. No wonder he had felt a strange ache for Sarah before, and why his heartbeat had become uncontrollably faster more and more often. His heart had already told him earlier. He was just too slow to realize his true feelings for Sarah. And he had believed Chloe's words, allowing her to hurt Sarah without restraint. Thinking of this, Robert's eyes were filled with coldness. He made a phone call. "Robert, are you hurt? Does it hurt?" Chloe appeared shortly after, her eyes red, pretending to be worried. Robert looked at the falseness on Chloe's face, and his heart turned cold. Why hadn't he noticed the falseness on this woman's face and the calculation in her eyes before? Robert scoffed and grabbed Chloe's neck tightly. "You lied to me, didn't you?" "Robert, what are you talking about?" Chloe was very nervous inside, but her face still wore an innocent expression. Robert threw the indecent photos in Chloe's face. Chloe's face finally changed dramatically. They were all photos of her with different men. Even while she was with Robert, she often went out and cheated. She explained in panic. "Robert, T.S. wasn't what I wanted, I was forced to do it." Chloe was so scared she cried. Tears fell on Robert's hand, and he threw her aside in disgust. A violent rage rose in his heart, and he kicked Chloe hard several times. "You framed Sarah, Chloe, you're so bold." Watching Chloe crawl towards the door in a pathetic state, he grabbed her hair. "Don't you love to have fun? Today I'll make sure you have a good time." He clapped his hands, and several big, burly men came in. Robert sneered. "Make sure you keep this lady company." Robert closed the door. Behind him were Chloe's screams and pleas for mercy. After doing all this, he didn't care about his still weak body and hurriedly booked a flight. He couldn't wait to see Sarah. He wanted to tell Sarah that he loved her. Sitting on the plane, Robert thought of Sarah, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. A hint of nervousness flashed in his heart. "I was resting on a park bench when suddenly a shadow fell over me. Robert appeared before me like that. He was holding a large bouquet of red roses, on which lay a pink diamond necklace. It shone with a dazzling light in the sun. Robert knelt down on one knee before me. He apologized to me. I'm sorry, Sarah. I broke my promise. I didn't come to find you when you were little. But it was because I lost my memory, but now I remember everything. I know now that you were the one who saved me from the bottom of the mountain. You must have suffered a lot all these years. I'm back. I won't let you. Before Robert could finish, I interrupted him. Mr. Robert, when I saved you back then, it was also to repay you for chasing away those who bullied me at the orphanage. We're even. Mr. Robert doesn't need to fly all this way to thank me. I won't accept these flowers. Mr. Robert, please go back. Seeing me get up to leave, a hint of panic flashed across Robert's face, and he quickly grabbed my hand. Sarah, I have things to do, so I won't keep Mr. Robert company. Mr. Robert, please leave. I tried to pull my hand away, but Robert held it tightly, unwilling to let go. Sarah, can you stop calling me Mr. Robert? Can you call me Robert? I heard a hint of pain in his voice. I pursed my lips, not wanting to deal with him anymore. A hint of unwillingness flashed across Robert's face, and before I could react, he kissed me fiercely. I froze, then pushed him away hard. Then I slapped him hard. Robert, there is nothing between us anymore. He paused, touching his red cheek. I had never hit him before. Now that I had done this, he would definitely get angry and leave. But unexpectedly, the next second he offered his other cheek. Did that make you feel better? If not, hit me again. You're crazy. You're absolutely unreasonable. My hand, hanging at my side, trembled uncontrollably. I turned to leave. Yes, I've gone crazy since you left my side. Robert's eyes were bloodshot. Sarah, I can't leave you. Please, come back, okay? Robert, your current affection is laughable. There is absolutely no possibility between us anymore. Just forget about it. Sarah, I just realized too late. Please give me another chance, okay? I pointed to the scar on my forehead. Robert, you've given me so many injuries and made me bleed so much. How dare you ask me to forgive you again? Sarah, don't worry, I'll compensate you. Without another word, Robert pulled me to the blood donation center at the hospital and rolled up his sleeve without hesitation. Draw 800 milliliters. Blood flowed little by little through the transparent tube into the bag beside it. Robert's face gradually turned pale, but he still turned his head and smiled at me. Sarah, did that make you feel better? I pursed my lips and remained silent. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, Robert frowned and said, Draw another 800 milliliters. Robert, are you insane? I looked at him in disbelief. Sarah, as low as it makes you feel better, are you feeling a bit more comfortable? He pleaded with me humbly. Please, come back, okay? Robert, it's impossible between us anymore. My fingernails dug into my palms, and I turned to leave. Sarah, I beg you, please look back at me. I ignored him. Seeing that I was about to leave, Robert directly pulled out the needle from his arm. The massive blood loss made his steps unsteady. He stumbled and chased after me. He grabbed my arm, about to say something. Suddenly, someone ran past and bumped into him. David shielded me behind him, his eyes full of hostility, staring coldly at Robert. So you're Robert. After hurting Sarah like that, how do you still have the nerve to show your face before her? Robert's face changed slightly. Sarah, who is he? I stepped forward and linked my arm through David's, smiling slightly. Mr. Robert, this is David, my fiancé. Robert was struck as if by lightning, frozen in place, for a moment forgetting how to react. After a long time, Robert gave me a smile that was uglier than a cry. Sarah, you're joking with me, right? Seeing that I didn't speak, Robert took a step forward and touched my cold fingertips. My hand trembled, then I quickly pulled it back. Sarah, do you avoid me like the plague? Now you don't even want me to touch you? Robert hadn't expected me to react so strongly. He looked at me with a somewhat hurt expression. Mr. Robert, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. My fiancé is right here. It's best not to do things that might cause misunderstanding. What is he? Sarah, you like me so much, I don't believe you would just give up on me like this. Hearing this, David was furious. He stepped forward and started fighting with Robert. He pinned Robert down and punched him hard. That's for bullying, Sarah. Robert, I've been wanting to beat you up for a long time. Robert had just donated blood and was very weak. He was beaten without any ability. Why to fight back? Seeing that it was enough, I pulled David away. Behind me, Robert was still shouting, unwilling to give up. Sarah, I haven't signed the divorce papers. No matter where you go, I will follow you. Robert was true to his word. In the afternoon, he showed up with a Bulgari cake and placed it directly in front of me. I remember you liked sweet things the most when you were little. I looked up at him, and he smiled gently at me. I frowned, refused his cake, and got up to leave. Seeing that I ignored him, Robert picked up a stone from the side. He threw it hard at his own head. Sarah, now I have the same scar on my head as you. Will you finally pay attention to me? Blood slowly flowed down from Robert's head, and he smiled at me in a pleading manner. I took a deep breath and, right in front of him, I called the police for harassment. Finally, I watched him being taken away without resisting. I thought he had finally given up. But unexpectedly, a few days later, Robert publicly appeared in my class. He held the same bouquet of roses as that day, his eyes blazing, staring at me intently. The smile on my face froze, and I instantly became cold. Robert waited until my class was over. Seeing me acting as if I was avoiding him, he could only speak in a low voice. Sarah, will you let me say something? It won't take up much of your time. His tone was full of humility. I watched Robert's hand tremble as he took something out of his chest. He held it carefully, treasuring it greatly. Sarah, this is your diary. I've put it back together, but some parts one tore too small and couldn't find. Sarah, I know I failed you after so many years of your love. Will you let me stay by your side and let me compensate you slowly? Robert stared at me intently. Tears rolled down his temples, and his throat bobbed with nervousness. What Robert didn't say was that he had mobilized all his manpower and resources at the time. Without eating or sleeping, he searched for 3 full days. His eyes were red-rimmed from exhaustion, and he finally found them at a waste recycling center. They were just moments away from entering the garbage disposal. Robert was incredibly thankful that he had managed to find them. Robert smiled bitterly. I don't expect you to forgive me now. Just give me a chance to stay by your side, okay? I looked at Robert. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked at me uneasily, visibly nervous. These past few days, he had been through a lot, looking haggard and thinner. But I was too tired. Loving him for 20 years had drained all my energy. Making him fall in love with me had become an obsession in my heart. Now, I had already let go of that obsession. From now on, I would only love myself well. I put away the momentary softness in my heart and looked at him expressionlessly. Mr. Robert, please mind our respective statuses. You are overstepping. I returned the words he had said to me before, word for word. Robert froze completely, as if he had forgotten how to react, just staring at me blankly. Then he gave a look uglier than crying. Sarah, so that's how much pain you were in when I said that to you before. Now I understand. I watched Robert's face instantly turn pale. He clutched his chest, bending over in discomfort. Then he slowly collapsed to the ground, curling up. My face showed no emotion as I said the last words to him. Tomorrow is my wedding. I hope you won't come and ruin it. Don't make me hate you, Robert. From now on, we will never see each other again. Hearing these words, Robert trembled all over. Tears fell without warning. He cried without making a sound. Without looking at him anymore, I turned and ran away. David opened his arms, and I smiled as I ran into his embrace.